Late at night over this past weekend, Pantheon Rise of the Fallen's creative director Joppa Perkins made a surprise announcement about the game's death penalty in the Pantheon community Discord. And because chances are you may have missed that, let me tell you about it. The death penalty is, of course, a critical aspect of any MMO. It deeply affects how you perceive danger in the world, and therefore how you approach those situations. Because this is so important, it is also a very highly debated topic. In fact, among the Pantheon community, I would even go as far to say that this is the single most talked about issue. So, needless to say, fans have been awaiting solid information on this for a while. Now, there's a private Discord channel specifically for those who have pledged to the game at the VIP tier, and the Visionary Realms developers periodically show up there to chat with fans and even share some additional information about the game's development, since everyone there is under NDA, and this includes details about the death penalty. But over this past weekend, someone from that Discord channel seemed to have mistakenly shared some of that information in the public Pantheon community Discord, which of course created a bit of a buzz. But Joppa quickly stepped in and basically said, "We were going to share this with you soon anyway, so here it is." And as a side note, since this was an impromptu announcement, I wouldn't be surprised if they expanded on this a bit more in one of the upcoming monthly developer streams and beyond. Regardless, because this is an important topic, I want you all to know what we have so far. So, if you don't want to miss any of those future updates, hit the subscribe button now because, as my brand new channel art suggests, this channel is completely dedicated to keeping you as informed as possible about Pantheon. As always, I think it's best to first go back a little bit and see what the overall goals are for the system, which the devs have been saying for a while, to get some better context so that we can then see if the newly released details line up with that. For example, for years, the FAQ has stated, quote, "We want the player to respect and even fear the environment, but also to be enticed by it. A big part of achieving this balance is making sure that there is an incentive to avoid death. While the details of this system are not yet fleshed out and will likely be tweaked and changed a bit during beta, you can expect death to be something you'd rather avoid. That said, if a death penalty is too severe, it can keep players away from some of the more challenging and rewarding content, and we are keeping this in mind as well. So death will sting, but it will also not involve losing an unreasonable amount of experience or levels or a permanent loss of items," end quote. So with all that in mind, let's go ahead and look at those newly released details. Quote, "When you die, 1. Return to your bind spot. 2. Lose X% of current experience towards next level. 3. Large durability hit to worn equipment if we implement durability, which we probably will. 4. Respawn with the gear you were wearing when you died still equipped. 5. All general inventory remains on corpse, must be looted to retrieve. This includes money. And 6. Resurrection abilities will return an amount of lost XP. All priest classes will boast the same experience return for their reses," end quote. And unsurprisingly, that sparked a massive discussion among everyone that was there in the Discord channel at the time. Notably, with some people surprised that returning to your corpse after you die would be done with your main gear still on. Now, those who have been following the game for a while shouldn't be surprised that if, for whatever reason, you can't get a res, there will be some form of corpse runs. The devs have mentioned this pretty much since the beginning, and you can even already see it play into the class design a little bit, such as with the shaman ability, Agewalker's Gift.
So, a quick question pertaining to corpses while we're here. Will you be able to summon corpses in-game via in-game mechanics?
Yeah, you'll be able to drag your corpse within a limited distance from you. You'll be able to drag it, however far you want to drag it, certainly out of harm's way. And then there'll also be, at later levels, certain summon corpse type abilities for sure.
And that doesn't just apply to your own corpses. Pantheon is a game built with a sense of community in mind, and helping each other with corpse runs can be one thing that really brings people together.
Can you consent and allow other people to loot your corpse?
Consent to drag, yes, but not to loot yet.
Cool.
But anyway, the detail of respawning with your equipped gear is slightly different from some of the classical MMOs from which Pantheon draws some inspiration. However, Joppa went on to say, quote, "We're not deviating from anything. Rather, we're clarifying design decisions into facts about what the game will actually be like, instead of continuing to hover around them and leave them vague. We've been very clear that the death penalty was still under consideration for quite a while. Now we've landed. Case closed." End quote. And actually, that claim is supported by this forum post by the late Chief Creative Officer Brad Aradoon McQuaid, who in 2016 said, quote, "As I've stated before, the severity of Pantheon's death penalty will likely lie in between two extremes, Vanilla EverQuest and Vanilla Vanguard. We need to find that sweet spot in between the two. Totally naked corpse runs are probably too extreme. But on the other end of the pendulum, trivializing death penalties leads to all sorts of problems. Players don't respect the environment, aren't encouraged to play seriously and with forethought, etc. At the same time, if we go too far the other way, many players will want to avoid death to such a great degree that exploration, trying new tactics, taking on that formidable boss mob, etc. will suffer. The goal, of course, is to come up with a death penalty that is desired by our target audience. That's easier said than done though, because even though you are all more often on the same page than not when it comes to design and mechanics, there are a few categories where there is not an obvious or clear mandate from our community. The death penalty, of course, is one of these." End quote. So on that note, what do you think? Do you think that what Joppa has laid out here sounds like a good balance? Do you think it lines up with the goals of the death penalty that they laid out a while ago? Let's hear it in the comments. Again, this will be an ongoing discussion as there are more questions to be answered, like how much XP will those reses return? How exactly does item durability function? How long will corpses last? And if death doesn't result in permanent loss of items, then what happens to your general inventory if you don't get to your corpse in time? There's much more to come here, but I hope you found this video helpful, and I will see you in the next one.